Today's collectible spot, we are having a look at the Square Enix PlayArts Kai Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice figure number 1, Batman. With a warning choking hazard, small parts not for children under 3 years of age, Batman here is recommended for ages 15 and up. Just of course, before we have a look at the figure itself, the package features some artwork of what the figure is going to look like. That is actually the figure right there. You have our Batman with his head arched down, and either an explosion or some sort of rainfall is behind the figure. Some nice photography work there. The side of the box features 01, along with down below Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice. As for your back, PlayArts shows you several different ways that you can pose the figure, one of which having Batman holding one of his included Batarangs. There's some warning information down below, as well as website information for Square Enix. Finally, just before we open this up, let me phrase that, just before we open this up and get the figure out of the box, we can open up the flap as featured on Square Enix releases. On the right-hand side, you've got the figure, you've got the interchangeable hands and the accessories. On the left side, you will have different read-ups. Now, the read-ups are presented here both in Superman's and Batman's. So in this case, we will read Batman's. Batman's read-up says, "Tell me, do you bleed? You will." In addition to his strong physique and exceptional skill in martial arts, the Batman invests his enormous inheritance into development of various gadgets. He protects the peace of the people from his residence in Gotham City, cracking down on evil villains by instilling fear into them. With his fearful appearance, people have called Batman a dark hero. Then unspeakable tragedy happens before his very eyes. Lives of innocent people are unjustly and violently cut short. How many good guys are left? How many stay that way? With a shrewdness honed by his many battles as the dark hero, Batman will rescue mankind by challenging Superman, now fallen from grace and called a false god. With that being said, Spot's going to take himself a break and get this opened up. When we come back, though, we're going to get a better look at the Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice Batman from the PlayArts Kai releases. Stay tuned, guys. There's more heading your way. Don't go anywhere. Now that we have Batman out of packaging, the one thing that actually is not in this review that actually is included with Batman is the clear display stand that comes included with all of PlayArts Kai figures. I just simply didn't take it out and put it out on the review, but it does come with it, just in case you guys are wondering. I just didn't simply show it because it's such a constant with all of the PlayArts Kai releases that pretty much if you've seen that one time, you've seen it lots of times before. So it does come with a clear stand. We're just going to leave it off for this point of this review. Let's have a look, though, at the other accessories that come included with Batman. He comes with his grapple blaster, or grapnel gun. He also comes with a hook, which is nicely included, that they could have simply just given us the gun itself, but it's nice that they would have gone as far as giving us the hook, too. The little grapple hook there just clamps into the underside, the under barrel, I should say, of the blaster, and does fit very easily into Batman's hands when, of course, you do swap the hands out for one of the others that are included. He does have the little hook on the side, or the little prongs on the side, but you can't really fit the hook into it. I keep saying the hook, but the little clamp claw there. You can't fit it into it, A, because it doesn't have enough clearance, and it doesn't look like there's any notable hole included, and because the prongs on the sides are already extended, it just simply wouldn't fit. But in the meantime, you can easily just plug it right into the barrel, and you're good to go. He does also come with one of his grenades. Only one grenade, and there's a little bit, hopefully you can see it. Let's bring the camera in just a little bit. There we go. Primarily, it's a black color, but there's just a little bit of accent on red right at the top there and right at the bottom. It's minuscule. It's very hard to almost make out, but it's appreciated as opposed to just simply painting the whole thing black. While we're on the topic of smaller things, Batman also comes included with a Batarang, which I just dropped on the floor. Hold on 1 second. Boy, oh boy, just like Batman is plagued and cursed to fight the streets of Gotham City against tyranny, Spot continues to be cursed by dropping small accessories. Anyways, he does come with the Batarang, which, taking it out of the packaging, I immediately thought it was metal, but it's not actually metal, it's plastic. It does have a good bit of durability to it, not to say I would test that by bending in any sort of way, but it does look like it has a good bit of resiliency to it. To note though, there's no areas on Batman's utility belt that support either the grapnel gun, the bat grenade, or the Batarang. Now, to hold any one of those said items, Batman does come included with a series of interchangeable hands. He has ones obviously geared towards the grapnel gun, where you have the trigger hand, or trigger finger, as you can see right there. He also has hands suited for holding the grenade, or in this case, I guess this one would probably be better suited for holding... No, that one's better for the grenade there. And he has also ones, there's the correct one for the Batarang, which fits very snugly, but it does fit into his hand. It just takes a little bit of prying, not by me, but there you go. Fits very easily into his hand. And then he's also got a secondary hand, which perhaps might be a better fit for the, we'll try the grenade. The grenade's just a little more difficult because it's got a more wider bottom to it. But I guess Batman could hold it, just a matter of prying the hands out of the way and just kind of fitting them in there. So there's your accessories. Well, let's have a look at this spectacular, my goodness, this is one spectacular looking Batman. PlayArt's Kai are hit or miss in the sense that sometimes when they go really outfield with some of their designs, the characters can be either well received or disliked. Some of the notable positives from the ones that I've reviewed are, like, for example, the Captain America, which stayed pretty consistent with itself. And then you had the likes of Joker, which, again, a little more far out there. But I thought still, source material-wise, I think still supported and did a fair good job of representing what Joker is. When it comes to movie properties, I think they tend to stay a little closer to the material than when it comes to comic material. The Batman, for example, the Batman Nolan trilogy, Spot had a look at the Batman, the Catwoman, and Bane, all notable exceptions. But I would almost say from a movie standpoint, this might be the best Batman that Square Enix and the PlayArt's Kai licensed figures. This is the best figure I've seen in hand. Like, it's simply gorgeous. Let's bring the camera up. Let's bring the camera into his face. The face is stellar. It's not perfect. Obviously, Spot's not going to look at this with rose-colored glasses. It's not a perfect figure, but it's pretty close. The face sculpt is quite good, and I guess as one notable little hiccup, I don't like how slick his lower jaw is. There's a little bit of a wetness to it, and I guess they were trying to convey the idea of sweat, perhaps. But I think it's almost a little too much. I would have pulled that back just a little bit. The facial sculpt, I think, does look like Ben Affleck, certainly as the Caped Crusader. The sunken-in eyes painted also quite nicely, although the one eye gets a little bit more lost, it seems, in the crevice or the indentation of the cowl. This one seems like it's a little easier to spot. So plus, right off the bat for the head sculpt. Head sculpt, great. Now, I've already kind of had a look at the Superman. That's a review that's going to be right around the corner. I don't think the Superman delivers as well as a sculpt, but equally so when we had a look at the Man of Steel Superman, also from Square Enix. I don't feel like that was the greatest of sculpts either. Batman, though, they seem to nail. Some would also say, too, well, Batman's cowled. It's a lot easier to pull off a head sculpt. But that being said, I think the figure still is great. The majority of his body is a gray, although you probably can see it's not solely gray. They opted to put a little bit of this slightly tanned wash, which carries a little bit into the bicep area, across the torso, a little in the shoulders, and on the other arm. The thighs also get a little bit of that wash as well. I guess just to give it a little bit of pop rather than having it solely gray. So I appreciate that. It's not glaring. You know, you can tell that it's there, but it also seems to fit the character. Like, between the paint between the wetness of the mouth, it does give kind of a look to me like Batman's outfit is slightly wet, like he's fighting in the rain. That's the vibe I'm getting from this figure. When it comes to his Batarang, that's where the little pops of gold start shining through, as well as the gold also on his knuckles and also in his boots. The boots have a more transitioned, faded effect to them. They're not as dark, for example, as the gloves. They're a little bit lighter on the lighter side. They start relatively dark, but then they seem to progressively go down to a lighter color. I wish that was a little bit more consistent, where it was just black all the way down, as opposed to going for a lighter look. I wish they had, stuck to a darker color, that's, stuck to that darker black, just to finish off the figure, because the figure starts well dark. No sense in having him gradually fade off to a lighter gray. Just again, my personal preference. Spin the figure around to the back. You've got the iconic, I suppose iconic, or the trademark, that's probably a better word to describe it, the trademark Square Enix cape, which does actually have its own articulation. If you've seen any caped figures before, you'll know what to expect. Each of the cape sections are individually ratcheted joints. It means you can, and it takes a little bit of polishing and a little bit of movement, but you can bring the cape to the side, for example, as if Batman's got the cape blowing to the side, or you can of course bring it down. There's a lot of posable options to it, and being that it's ratcheted, it just feels a little bit more secure as opposed to just simply being a ball or hinge joint. The cape also does that transitioning lighter color. It does look a little bit more like dirt, whereas I don't feel like this reads as much as dirt as it does just lighter gray. But the gray does carry over to the bottom edges of the cape, which I seem to be a little bit better with than I am with the boots. The bat emblem is nice and broad. I like that. The gauntlets are shorter, as again with the design of this particular bat suit. All in all, I have to say this figure really impresses me. Like, really impresses me. I would almost dare say, not to compare, of course, companies, but this would be kind of what we could have gotten, perhaps, if like NECA had done the Batman properties and not like the likes of, let's say, like a Mattel. The figure itself obviously is a little bit more expensive, being it's also an import. It also means the figure is a little bit more expensive, but I would almost trade buying all the individual Mattel Batman v Superman figures. I'd probably trade all of those in and just spend that money on getting this guy right here. This is what I'm talking about. Retail releases aside, and it's very hard to compare retail releases to import releases because it's really apples to oranges. You can't really compare the two. But save money where you can. I would definitely invest in something like this. This guy is beautiful. In the way of his articulation, and again, it doesn't stop there. These figures are also superposable. So you got essentially a ball joint that's attaching the head to the neck, but then you got a secondary ball joint that's attaching the neck to the torso section. So you can get that low, brooding sort of Batman, or you can have him, his head a little higher up. It doesn't seem to go very high, probably because of the sculpt on the back of the cowl just kind of restricts that, but at least you've got that extra motion and movement there. Shoulders are ratchet as well, so they rotate forward and back and out, though not as ratchet as that of the cape. There's that ratchet. That's more like it. He has not really he does have a double bend, but not in the regards that as he's got a noticeable hinge and hinge. It's all one fluent sort of joint. So you have the joint as a starting point and end point, where you get a good bend, but it's not really an individual joint and joint. The forearm also rotates. You got that same ratcheted joint in the wrists, full rotation there. He has an upper torso ball joint, which is a little stiff on this figure. There we go. There we go. A rotation on the waist, forward and back motion and split on the legs, top swivel cut on the thigh, double hinge knee, which unlike the arm isn't one fluent motion, but instead more separate joints from one another. And then he's got a ratcheted joint in the foot with a slight pivot and a bend in the toe, like that. I would say, now price point, this guy will vary. He will go anywhere from $150 to $200. You would say perhaps that's a little on the steeper side, but unfortunately, being that these are more import figures, the price of import figures, as anyone collecting like the SH Figure Arts, or in this case the Play Arts Kai figures, they tend to go for a lot more. Is it worth it? Absolutely. You know, if you could trade one for the other, I would solely have traded all the Mattel figures I picked up from Batman v Superman in favor of something like this. You know, have this Soul figure, or perhaps the Battle Armor Batman, which we're going to be looking at in a bit, or the Superman, or the Wonder Woman. Get those four figures. Invest in something that, you know, you're going to be looking at years from now and still appreciate a fantastic looking Batman. Today's collectible spot, we were having a look at the Square Enix. This was the Play Arts Kai Batman v Superman. This was the Batman figure. Gorgeous. Stay tuned, guys. Spot's going to have more toy spots and collectible spots heading your way. As always, thanks for watching, as you always do. I'll see you next time.